This is that time of year where it's so just tricky to know how to dress, because one day, or not even one day, in the morning it's cold, and in the afternoon it's like 82 degrees. So I wore jeans to work, and coming home from work was horrible, to say the least. I'm just doing some cashmere suit work here. Always forever playing with generative fill, trying to take images that are not mine and make them mine. And it's kind of fun to see what the old AI ethos will create. I've been listening to a book series called Mistborn by Brendan Sanderson. I actually started listening to a series of lectures he has on narrative writing. It was just something I did on a whim. I stumbled across it on YouTube and just started listening, and ended up getting really found it to be very interesting. I had never heard of him, no idea who he was as an author, and started listening to his lectures, and obviously he talks a lot about his books. And I am not somebody to get into epic fantasy, but lately I've been trying to just get involved with stuff that I'm not normally into, and and here I am. I'm reading it. I'm actually listening to it because I don't read books that big. It's it's a very long book, but the audiobook is nothing to shake a stick at either. It's 30 hours, which isn't insane, but it's a lot of time. And you just I looked for it on Libby. They have a couple copies on Libby, but the line for it is crazy. I'm 58th in line for this book, and I'm if I ever want a shot at listening to it, I'm going to have to search elsewhere. Well, of course, once again, the Handy Dandy Library came in handy dandy, and they have all the audiobooks, just a massive collection of audiobooks, obviously for free, all on CD. And I'm well, how often am I chained to a desk with a CD player? Well, almost never, in terms of when I actually want to listen to a book, because something that's 30 hours long, I better be able to be on the move, especially with a lot of the running, the half training that I'm doing. I wanted to listen to it while I ran, because when you're doing long runs, music just doesn't cut it after a certain period of time. You need something different. And so did a little research and found a company called Oak Castle that manufactures Discman, old school CD players. And this one happens to be USB-C rechargeable and Bluetooth. So it's kind of cool. It's been a little bit of a blast from the past listening to CDs again, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a little bit more than halfway through the first book. It's a trilogy. I think there's actually 7 in the franchise, in the series, but I think it's just 3 in the original series. So I've still got a long way to go. It's really interesting. I wouldn't say it's the best book I've ever read, but it does give me a nice intro to this world of epic fantasy that I normally would not be listening to. So if you're a fan of his books, let me know. Let me know after Mistborn what would be the next one that I should listen to. I might be sick to death of listening to him by the end of 90 hours of his writing. But so far, I am only further intrigued with what else he has going on. And it's really quite fascinating. I've kind of realized right now, Sam and I still watch a lot of movies together, but I've had lists of TV shows that I've wanted to watch, and that list is just growing at a rate that I will never get caught up. And so I've somewhat divorced myself from the idea right now of being able to listen to, being able to watch TV shows. And so, all I really do is listen to podcasts, and I'm really just fatigued with podcasts. I think they are all like just kind of the same. I'm just sick of hearing people talk idly about stuff. I crave some more interesting narrative writing, I guess. And so I'm really only going to get that from books. I've been listening to a lot of nonfiction, but again, that doesn't scratch that narrative itch that I have, because I'm somewhat frustrated with, I'll say, the mainstream movies, because it feels like it's kind of rare for one to come along that just feels as interesting as I want it to be, if that makes sense. Not that I don't enjoy any movies, I just want some stuff to be different. And so, again, right now, the only thing that makes sense to do is listen to fictional books. Now, here's where this always gets tricky. I'm trying to replace this teddy bear with a different teddy bear. What you're seeing right now is complete piracy. Actually, you know what? I wonder if it really is, because it might be more... I think it actually might be protected under freedom of speech, because I am changing... Is it freedom of speech? I'm changing the original piece of art, or the original material, enough, or you could argue that I'm changing it enough that I am actually creating its own separate work. Obviously, that's been challenged time and time again, especially in movies. In music, because people remix stuff, and they'll put a drum beat from a Beatles song, and then they'll just get sued to oblivion. I'm not super worried, though. That is not something that I'm concerning myself with currently. We just got back from New York, and that was our second time going. It was very successful. In terms of, this time went a lot better, I would say, with the kids than it did the first time. Not that the first time was even bad. They for a 7.5 hour car ride, which really with all the stops is like darn near a 12-hour day. Yeah, they did great. On the way back, everybody slept for a lot of the drive, so we just cruised. I have this growing philosophy, because there's such a temptation with driving road trips to try and make the best time possible, and I have always fallen victim to that. So there's always like a level of stress when you make a stop that you're like, oh, we got to get, but the reason behind that is because you want to be done with your drive as fast as possible, and you want to get to your destination and enjoy yourself. But the thing that I've come to realize is that your drive is so much more enjoyable if you make lots of stops, and don't even be afraid of making those stops long. Take your time, enjoy, stop somewhere, get lunch, do that a couple times. You might add 2 or 3 hours onto your drive for sure, but it takes the edge off of that driving fatigue so much, and you wash away all that stress of like, I've got to make the best time. And it's totally the way of road trips. And children will slow you down to show you that kind of stuff, right? I don't really know what I'm doing here. This is actually a photo of my own. This is a living room of a family member's home that I am destroying and altering and creating it into its own Frankenstein image. I'm trying to create a living room that does not look like a living room. And I like this toy vacuum down here in the corner. I'm actually covering it, so too bad. but take my word for it. There's a little toy vacuum in the corner, and it has a little face on it. And I don't want the face, but I want the vacuum. So we shall remove that. There's this little dragon stuffed animal here, and I like that, so we'll keep that. I'm trying to decide what else I do and do not like about this image. This one's pretty straightforward and simple, so I think we're good with that. It was funny. I had to take 2 days off of work last week in order to make the New York trip, and it just felt very funny coming back from 8 weeks and be like, "Hey, could I take 2 days of work off at the end of this week? Would that be cool?" Of course it was. I'm very blessed to work for a pretty liberal and understanding job. They are very generous with their vacation time. And obviously very generous by giving me 8 weeks. Well, actually, I got 6 weeks of paid leave, but I took an extra 2 with vacation time again because they rock. And it was great. I'm going to try to remove this lady. Sometimes when you're removing big chunks of stuff, it makes some pretty hilarious decisions, but we'll see what it does. It's going to put like a goose there or something. Sometimes it doesn't fully understand the context of the entire image. Oh, it did great. Look at that. It put a pillow. Watch. Look at that. It turned her into a pillow. It's like a magic trick. Pow. It gives you options. Oh, that's horrifying. That is so scary. No. That's so scary. I don't like that. You did great with the pillow. Leave it at a pillow. And then there's some kind of exotic rabbit, I think it is here, because there's 2 rabbit photos on the wall, and then that lady was holding a rabbit. Either way, it's kind of weird, but weird is a little bit of the name of the game here, so we'll see. If it doesn't give, if it gives me weird options, I'm fine with the rabbit. Oh no, give me an actual fox. Oh no, oh god. You know what? That's kind of wild. I'm going to leave that one. It looks like an animal, but you can't quite make it out. I like that bunny photo, but I'm going to remove this bunny photo here. Hopefully it just makes it a white picture. Yeah, I'm still trying to sell my car. If you're in the market for a used Mitsubishi Galant, year is 2012. I've got a great deal on it. It only has 175,000 miles on it, which really, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think is all that much for cars. People get so spooked when their car gets above 100,000 miles. I don't think you need to. I think cars regularly go beyond that. I think where people get kind of spooked is because all of those required maintenance. I mean, it's a piece of machinery, right? So theoretically, it could go forever. You would eventually have replaced the entire car, but it could, in theory, go forever. So I think sort of the fear of going over 100,000 miles is like, okay, now you know you are going to have to replace the timing belt. You are going to have to replace the struts and shocks. You're going to have to replace the transmission eventually. Like, you're getting closer to those deadlines. And I think that's what people fear. But in terms of like my car has already gone through all that. I've already put in the heavy lifting of replacing the expensive stuff on that car. And if you're in the market for a cheap car, like you're not going to find some golden goose for $3,000 where you're not going to have that stuff closely down the road, because if that stuff wasn't down the road, people wouldn't be selling the car. That's my thinking either way. But it's interesting how much, how many used cars there are on Facebook Marketplace for that exact mileage. And I have a small theory for why that is, because obviously, as you know, cars are so expensive right now, have been. Specifically, interest rates are just really high. And so I think a lot of people have steered clear of buying a new car. So they're just like, nah, I'm just like me. I'm just going to run mine into the ground. And then eventually it just gets to a point where they're getting fearful that they're going to have to make a repair that's worth more than the car. So they sell it. And I think that all happened after COVID. Like nobody bought a new car for a while. They just drove their old cars, and now those old cars are getting up into that close to that 200,000 mile range, and so now they're selling their car and buying a new one because they feel they have no choice. My circumstance is a little bit different, where I have just become somehow the guardian of several people's cars long term, and which I'm happy to do. It works out for me. So it's like I would totally keep my Mitsubishi, but at this point, I am just insuring and owning a bunch of cars. I'm insuring and registering a bunch of cars that I will not be driving regularly. So there's not enough room in the driveway. Like I've got to get rid of a car here. And so the Mitsubishi is going to be the one to go just because it beats out all the other ones, not by much, but just by a little bit in terms of condition. One of them, the other ones are, different situations. So, yeah. And honestly, I work from home now and I have for a couple of years. Even when I worked for the Y, I didn't have to go into the office as much as I did. I just kind of liked it because I liked the environment. But now I'm really only going in once, maybe twice a week, and that's kind of more or less by choice than demand. So there's not much of a need for me to even have a car. Like we, for a brief period of time, talked about just having one car because we were like, it wouldn't be that crazy. But, then you think, well, you're going to find situations where you really wish you had two cars, and then you're going to be like hitting people up to borrow their car, and then you're that guy, and I don't want to be that guy. And so ultimately we're like, well, we should definitely just keep a backup. And so that was the conversation. So, we're not a one-car family. Not that I think it would be impossible to do. I think if our lives were just a little bit different, especially if we lived somewhere with just a little bit more public transportation, I would have no issue with committing to that one car lifestyle. But yet here we are. Caden has been super into The Incredibles, which is easily one of the best Pixar movies in my opinion. I just think the theme of it, like the melding of this sort of comic book, superhero, modern day thing, like this world that they've built is so cool and interesting. And so it's probably been my favorite movie that has just been on repeat lately, because you don't always have the best things that get on repeat with a little kid. But I've been loving The Incredibles, and they're just such great moments. There's a conflict and resolve moment that I am obsessed with in the first Incredibles, when Mr. Incredible is fighting the robot for the first time, and he's all old and out of shape, and he's fighting him, and his back gives out, and he torques his back, and then he's disabled for this moment, and it looks like he's gonna die, and the robot picks him up and starts stretching him apart, like it's gonna pull him apart, and it fixes his back, and he's just like, oh, and then it re-gives him another superpower almost in that moment, because it dips his abilities. But it's just so funny. It's such a clever little setup and payoff, and it just works so comedically. But yeah, Incredibles is good. And when I first saw, I've been doing this a lot lately, which I think has been very telling and showing to the way I allow movies to have a first impression on me. There's been a couple movies like this, but Incredibles 2, when I first saw it in theaters, I was not particularly stoked about it. And then having rewatched it now, I'm like, you know what? This is a pretty good movie. So it actually has gotten me kind of excited for the next one, because they're making an Incredibles 3, and I'm definitely going to see it, and I am definitely going to give it. Oh God, what did I do? Come on now. Oh no, now my computer's done this thing. Oh, I can't believe you've done this. Yeah. Anyways, I'm excited. I took a little break, obviously, from doing the casual movie reviews, just because I was doing a lot of them, and the views dropped off my channel. Crazy. It's so weird. I kind of hate talking to the camera. Like, I don't hate the act of it, but I just hate when my channel becomes about me talking about my life or like vlogging, just because it's not really my bag. I do it out of like necessity and laziness, to be honest. But in general, it's not something I enjoy being part of the channel. Anyways, I'm going to have to come to terms with it, because especially now I'm realizing whenever I'm doing like lazy videos that aren't me just talking, whether it's people aren't watching it or clicking on it, or also likely that YouTube is not suggesting it to people because there isn't a person in the auto-generated thumbnail. And so I've just, I get these moments where I'm like, fuck it, just do this cringy, narcissistic, self-absorbed content. There's a, that being said, there's an ASMR artist that I've been watching for a really long time, and he's a collector, and he collects like video games and movies and Pokemon cards and stuff. And I'm not particularly interested in like collecting those things, but I'm just very interested in his life. And I love when he talks about his life. I've been watching him for years. Anyways, he recently had Scoop ASMR. If you're interested, he used to actually have other channels, and now he only has this ASMR channel. So it's the only way I can like learn about his life. But he used to have a really big channel that was like for sneaker collectors, and that channel got like lost, or I don't know. He broke some TOS thing with YouTube, and they took the channel down. But anyways, recently his storage unit was broken into, and he got his entire, because he was in the process of moving, so he had his entire collection, probably like $50,000 to $80,000 worth of collections of just Pokemon cards, baseball cards, movies, DVDs, shoes, hats, clothing. Like, he collected a lot of not Ralph Lauren. Yeah, Polo Ralph Lauren, right? Yeah, whatever, Polo clothes. And it was all robbed. Like, it was all stolen. And I don't know the guy. I don't necessarily care about any of his stuff. But on a human level, I was like devastated. He made this whole 1-hour video where he was talking about it. And he was like getting emotional about it. And like, I don't know, at first you're just like, well, that sucks, but whatever. But then, he starts going through some of these items and like these big points of his life where he purchased these things and tracked down this item, and it was like his life's, the accumulation of like his life's work was just stolen from him, and it was really quite tragic, honestly. I felt the weight of it. So all that to say, I guess I am the biggest, I become very obsessed in a lot of small-time YouTubers' lives, just because YouTube really is, in the long format, it's often a great look into somebody's life. While it's not always terribly accurate or honest, it is very interesting, and there's lots of details. Like, I have a series that I have not added to in a long time. If you've been around long enough, you may have seen some of them, but it's called Less Famous Faces, and it's where I just talk about some of these content creators that I've watched for a really long time, and my sort of fetish, if you will, is finding them that have really, really low subscriber counts, because those are always the people that are putting on the least mask, because they have the least responsibility, the least risk, because like big YouTubers, they're very polished, they're very precise, they're controlling a big audience, they're usually monetizing. It's a different game. But when you're just a guy talking to a camera, you learn so many little interesting factoids about somebody's life, and it's not even like their lives are boring. They're super I mean, it's not even like their lives are interesting. Their lives are super boring, which is exactly why they're interesting to me. So I would hate, if I was watching my own channel, I would be so bored with videos that are unlike this one. But yet, as a creator, I am so bored with videos like this one. Do you see the irony here? Do you see the impasse? The burden? All right, what I'm going to try to add in this picture is I want to add a oxygen tank. All right, don't laugh at me. I got to look up oxygen. I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic. I can't spell anything. Oxygen. Okay, oxygen. Let me pull my thing back up so I can see. Okay. Oxygen. Anyways, I'm going to try to create an oxygen tank here, and we will see if it works. Let's try oxygen. Oh, I didn't even say tank. Let's give it that bit of information. Oxygen tank. I mean, that's okay. It just doesn't look really realistic. Oh, that's bizarre. That's like something. This is like something out of Breaking Bad. That doesn't. I'm looking for like an oxygen tank, like an old person, somebody with a respiratory issue would wear. Oxygen tank, medical. Let's try that. I just need it to be somewhat realistic to the lighting. That isn't that. I mean, it's close enough, but it's not. Ooh, that's. I like this part, but that's not really it. Let's have it give it another go for me. Yeah. What are we at here? Coming up on 30 minutes. I'm trying not to make this too terribly long, both for your sanity and also my my sleep. Okay, let's just try adding another one. Let's just see what it'll do. Let me give it a better surface area. Let me be really specific about where I want this oxygen tank to exist. Medical oxygen tank. Come on, baby. It's like gambling. Come on, slot machine. I just want to win big. Come on, win big. Oh, bust. Better. Ooh, that one kind of matches that one. All right, let's try it again. Should we go for broke? What do you think? Should we do it again? Think I got hot hands tonight? Hot hands. Here we go. Oh, boy. Here we go. Medical oxygen tank. Come on, baby. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. Come on. Oh, the anticipation is killing me. It's like remembering. It's acknowledging what I'm looking for. Give me one more. Come on. I think it's because I made my selection area too small, so we might have to just start that over. Better match the selection area. That one's, I like that, but because of the angle, it looks very AI generated. Let's just start over. Let's give it a taller selection area. And I don't even know if that was better, but medical oxygen tank. Come on. I'm looking for a win. That's the worst yet. That one's probably better. This one's good. You probably can't see in the video, but it's got this like AI blur to it where the edges are just really soft. This one's sharper. The three of these together look extremely generated, but I can live with that. I can live with that. Plus, these are all going through like 2 more levels of processing, so some of these details are going to be not as obvious. Like this is the most crisp version of this picture that will exist in terms of the project that I'm making it all for. So in the end, it should all be fine. I'm going to cut it here because I'm done with my photos. There's going to be more of these, potentially a lot of these that I have to make. And just, as usual, working off borrowed time, trying to juggle. So I got to do what I got to do and consolidate videos and content and projects. I have no idea what's coming down the pipeline. I have some good stuff coming down, but I always say that. I'm trying to change that, and I also always say that too. But this time it's different, which I also always say. So who knows? It's like gambling. It's like a slot machine. Who knows? Who knows what you'll hit? Who knows what this channel will land on? Every day is a poll.